Hey guys, Snowman here again, and today we're making wooden wheels without a lathe. Simply put, you need a drill press, a couple of hole saws, and what I'm making are wheels for these bodies. These are for pull toy grasshoppers, where once you get the wheels on, that's what the toy will roll on. And then there are going to be a set of legs set up on hinges, so it'll look like the grasshopper's hopping along while it's rolling along the ground. Similar to our pull toy dog, but nowhere near as complicated. So anyways, wooden wheels on a drill press. Yeah. It's actually a lot easier than people think it is, but when I'm trying to set up the drill press to get it ready for doing some hole saw work, it's really no more different than setting it up for normal drilling or boring. One thing, depending on the hole saw arbor that you have, some of them are hex shaped, some of them are round, and have 3 flat sides on them. And now those 3 flat sides are for each of the jaw in the drill chuck to grab onto. So I make sure as I'm setting it up that I've seated it on those three teeth inside inside the drill chuck. I'll get this right eventually. And once everything's situated, make sure you get it nice and tight, so you don't want things obviously flying apart on you while you're trying to do this work. Now, it's okay, and I've managed to lose my piece of wood. Where the heck did I put it? Unless you're trying to be really super economical with your wood, there's really no reason to lay out where you want to cut the holes out. Just pretty much get them close to an edge, and try to get the circles that you're cutting out to touch each other but not overlap each other, so you don't get out of round wheels. But it saves wood. It saves a piece so that you have something to use later. I bring the center hole, or the center drill down to touch the wood, so I can see where the circle is going to fall as I'm cutting it out. Now, when I'm cutting it out, or when I'm cutting out the wheels out of any thickness of wood, what I like to do is start on one side, go about 2/3 of the way through the board that I'm cutting the wheel out of, flip the board over, and then use that center pilot hole from the drill to realign it, and then go in from the other side. That leaves a much cleaner cut when you're done cutting out the wheel. That way, when you go to sand it, which I'll show you the very simple little jig that my father made that works perfectly for sanding hole saw cut wheels. But anywho, time to get to getting. Okay, that's one thing I was afraid of. I have the drill press set way too fast, and it's actually burning the center hole in the wood. So the problem with the center drill on this hole saw is it's gotten dull over the years, and I keep forgetting to buy a drill sharpener and or just replace the center drill with something sharper. So you don't cut the speed down, you're just asking for all sorts of issues. You're just going to burn up your wood, burn up your project, and yeah, nothing's going to be very happy at that point. Oh, okay. Wrong direction. That was faster. As you can tell, I don't mess with changing the speed on the drill very often. Alright. I say we... There we go, that's more like it. Now I'm not getting enough tension on the belt. Right. So, alright, I'm going to adjust things here, get everything working properly, and be right back. Okay guys, let's try that again. Turns out I grabbed the wrong piece of wood. What I thought was a nice piece of poplar was actually a piece of pine that is notorious for having a lot of pitch in it. And the problem with that is, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see the burnt ring or not, but basically, long story short, created a lot of friction, burned up the wheel that I was trying to cut out of it. So now that I have an actual piece of poplar cut and ready for it, much lighter wood than the pine, nowhere near as much pitch. I'm going to start cutting my wheels out after I set up the table again, because this hole saw is notorious for not letting go of its pieces after it's cut them out. So you gotta fidget with it, basically. And away we go. Okay, so to give you guys a visual reference, now that I have cut 2/3 of the way through the board, the pilot hole is all the way through in the center, so now I can use this to line up the drill so I can cut through from the other side. It just makes for a cleaner piece. What it also does is it makes it a little easier to get your piece out of the hole saw. So it works all the way around. Back it up. Now, right now it looks very rough. It looks nothing like a wheel that you would want to use on a toy of any type. But just bear with me, folks. It's going to look a lot better. So I'm going to pause you guys here while I cut out the rest of the wheels for the 4 grasshoppers, and I'll be right back. Okay, now this is what I mean by overlapping your cuts. Now what it's doing is I still get a perfectly round wheel out of it, but it's using the wood as economically as possible, so it saves stock for other projects. Just one of the things my father and I like to do to save money here at the shop. So we have our first 4 rough cut wheels done out of 1/2-inch poplar, and they are literally just a basic circle of wood right now. So that's where, oops, as I drop it on the floor, and again. I never said I was the most graceful person in the world. Now this item here is literally just a 1/4-20 bolt with a 1/4-20 non-lock nut, so it's easy to remove, and a couple of very large machine washers. So what that's going to let us do Oh, and before you even use this jig for, which is a sanding jig, by the way, that goes into the drill press itself, what you're going to want to do is check the surface of each of the wheels and see if there's anything raised from the center hole that might cause the wheel to be kinked one way or another on the sanding jig, or basically just make it run out of round. So I like to take our 80 grit sanding block and just quickly clean up both sides of the wheel so you have a nice flat surface for the jig to work on. Now, give me a second, be right back. Okay, so now that you have your wheel on your jig, very simple, it just goes up inside the drill press. Now, since this is a 1/4-20 bolt and this end of the bolt is not smooth, it still has its threads, you're not going to want to crank down on your drill chuck or you'll screw up the threads. You'll never get the nut back off and you'll never get the wheel back off. So it just saves you a little bit of a headache if you just do everything by hand. When I'm sanding things on the drill press, I just drop the table out of the way. I mean, the piece is going to be suspended by the chuck anyway, so there's no reason for the table to get in the way. Now once you get it finger tight, the way that I tighten it without destroying the threads is I just turn it on, turn it off, and just grab it so that I know it's in there good. Not the safest way to do it, of course, but if you're careful, you won't tear up your hands. Okay, now when I'm doing toy wheels, they don't have to be absolutely perfect, but they do have to be nice. So what I end up doing is I do an 80 and a 120 sanding to get the riding surface of the wheel smooth, and if it needs anything past that, I might go up to a 220 if I really need a super smooth finish. But since this toy is going to ride on the ground, the wheels are going to get roughed back up by whatever they roll on anyways. So, anyways, back to work. I knew I forgot something. Forgot to tighten the wheel on the damn jig. There we go. Now one thing that's nice about this jig is you can set the speed by just setting the speed of the drill press, so you can decide how fast you want to sand things. Also, you can do a nice hand radius just to clean up the corners. If you want a more radiused wheel, then of course you can just spend more time on it, but what I like is how easy this jig is to use. So I've already, in that short amount of time, I've already done the 80 grit, and there we go, found the 120, and away we go. it's not bad, but since this wood is such an open grain, I'm going to have to go to a 220 to smooth them up a little better. Now what you see me doing is I'm actually feeling the surface of the wheel as I sand it. Now, you're probably saying that's setting me up for splinters, and it is, but I do a lot of the things that I make and show you guys by hand, so I've built up some fairly tough skin over the years. I was a machinist for several years before I became a woodworker, so it just lets me know everything's hunky-dory and I can move on to the next one. Alright guys, and that's pretty much it for, I throw my face in the view. That's pretty much it for wooden wheels, guys. The same process on the larger wheels because it's just a larger hole saw, so it's going to be a larger wheel to work with. But I hope this helps you guys out that don't have access to a wood lathe and still want to make wheels and don't want to buy the pre-made wheels from the store. It's something you can do. Alright guys, more to come.